called a compensatory counter-racist codified word guide. Now, that's a bunch of words that mean, when you open it and you look at words, it's not a dictionary, but it tells you words to look out for as far as asking questions about what it means. Like the word respect. It's been kicked around forever. What's the definition of respect? How do you know it when you got it? How do you know it when you don't have it? You should be able to measure these things. Like the word America. Like the word, the N-word. That has a definition that I gave it, because the problem with that N-word is that for years, and right up to this very moment, have you ever asked anybody what it really means? Now, you can look in a dictionary, and that's the first thing that I did. And the one thing that I noticed in the dictionaries that I've looked at down through the years, looking at the N-word, what does it really mean? You say it's a derogatory term for a person of Negro or African descent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the mystery term here, in that definition, you got to always look for the definitions within definitions, because sometimes they tell you absolutely nothing, like that definition doesn't. It says it's a derogatory term for a person of Negro or African descent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That doesn't really tell you anything. Why? Because it says it's derogatory, but it didn't tell you why it's derogatory. That's the key to its power. So it's really not a definition at all. When you give a word a concise definition, the word has limited power. A word that doesn't have a definition, you can make up any word right now and don't give it a definition, and that word will have unlimited power. So I gave what I consider the so-called N-word a correct definition for what it's really about after years of thinking about it. And it means a victim of white supremacy. It's impossible to be the N-word unless you're subject to the system of white supremacy. So if you go by that definition, what does that make Neely Fuller? That makes him the N-word. But it's a word having that definition that will work for me. Because when I'm called that, the person who is calling me that is simply calling me a victim of white supremacy. That's all it is. Why? Because it has that definition. It has that definition. Why? I gave it that. The power of that N-word has been around all these years and causes people all this grief. The real power behind that word is it's never had a definition. You've had black people fumble with it, an imaginary definition, say, well, anybody can be one. Or they'll say something like, well, it means a mean, vile person. I mean, but it's always been applied to black people, and white people will call black people by that term and then laugh. And when somebody's calling you by a word and you don't know the definition of it, they can always laugh at you because it doesn't have a definition.